Hi, and welcome to my live stream. I'm so glad you're here today. And I've gotten some really positive feedback and also some feedback that's kind of been a little bit like, can I really do this? So I'm really glad you're here and I'm ready to answer any questions. And I'd also like to know if you put it in the chat. I'm ready to do a little live demo of the same thing so you can see it live and ask questions. If you're interested in that, I will gladly do it. If you want to just have me answer questions, I'm good for that too. So just let me know what you want to do and just put it in the chat, and Ardith is going to help me monitor that. So make sure everything's working and that you can hear me. Oh, Sue K says, can't wait to try Canva. Thanks for your great demonstration. I figured out how to make a folder, but couldn't figure out how to put my elements in them. Can you show and tell us how? I can, but I'm not going to. This sounds terrible. I'm not going to show you today because it may be a little bit complicated. So this is on my agenda for my next video tutorial. So I'm not trying to get out of it. I'm just trying to say generalized Canva questions. We could get into the weeds really easy. So just hang in there. And after the summit is over, which is pretty soon, I'm doing my class on Monday night for everybody who has a VIP access pass, and we will go through stuff then. And then hopefully, maybe I'll have time to do the folder thing in there, but because that's 2 hours. And so hang on, because either we'll do it on Monday night and both. I will be putting that in one of my YouTube tutorials like right away. Okay, I see. Yes, yes, please do the demo. So I will. Does anybody else want to jump in and say whether you want to do the demo or not? I just want to make sure we're all in agreement about that. So let me just start. We don't have all the time in the world, and I'm going to switch my camera and make sure you see what I see and see if that works. And I should be there on the screen with you. So I do have a folder here with just a few elements just because to make it really simple. And I was going to show you how to make this paper, which is super easy and a little bit different from gnomes. So let me just start. So what I'm going to do is just click on this element over here. Now, these are all free elements. And that was another thing I've gotten a lot of comments about because I try to make such a big deal about it's hard to find all the free elements in Canva. But one thing that I didn't mention when I reviewed my tutorial, because I had filmed it many months ago, and when I reviewed it yesterday, I realized I didn't mention that, you know what, the best thing you can do if you're a free user is to go over to Creative Fabrica and just download images, free images from them, and then upload them back into Canva. And you can use all of them the same way. And some of you are signed up for my emails that I do every Friday. The link should be in my presenter area in the summit. And I do my own pattern papers and I send them out every Friday for free for you to download and print. And so when I do my own, even though I'm a pro user in Canva, I almost always use the images from other sources, especially from Creative Fabrica, because the commercial license with those is a little bit broader. But for just even for personal use, it's really great source if you don't know that resource to go there and get images and just upload them. And then you can use all of the Canva functionality, but use your own images. So if you're having trouble finding free images in Canva, that's the way to get around it. But anyway, these flowers today are in the free section in Canva. And before I do this, let me put the background on. I'm just going to highlight that and click the little trash can because I put it on too early. And here's the background that I picked for this. And I got it simply by searching for vintage seamless pattern. And I looked through till I found one that was free that went with what I wanted to do for today. So there it is. I just expanded it to be the whole square. And that's another question that I had received from people was 12 by 12 I can't print on my printer, and that's true. But I did say in the video, and maybe I said it too quickly or not specific enough, when you set up your your document here in Canva, you can make it whatever size you want. So 8 by 8 works great for an 8.5 by 11 printer. And just be sure it's square. Otherwise, things won't repeat that seamless way that I was showing you. So make sure it's square, but you can make it any size you want. I do 12 by 12 because when I download the images for my email that I send out, the free images, I make them large enough in different versions so that people who scrapbook can also download them, or download them a larger size and make it smaller, because they're all images that they can resize on their computer. So for you guys who don't know what I'm talking about, just go with it. It's fine. Just make an 8 by 8 square and do the same thing I'm doing here, and it'll print out great on your own computer. So anyway, I've got the background on there, and what I'm going to do is come up here and lock it. And it looks like I already did. So now I'm going to put this image on, and I'm going to do just what I did on the demo. I'm going to come over here, and there's that horizontal line that says I'm in the middle of the paper, and I'm going to pull it over here and see, did you see that red line go up on this side? So it's halfway. Then I'm going to duplicate it by clicking that little icon and drag it over here. And then you can see how it lines up with these lines. And I go over until I hit the red line on this side. They came up on this edge of the paper. So now I'm going to keep this one highlighted, and I'm going to go back over here and hold my and click on this, hold my shift key down so that it will do both of them. And now you can see it's got these little lines that go from one to the next. And then I'm going to do group. Now, are there any questions on that? I don't want to be talking so much that we don't have an opportunity to ask questions. So type them in the chat. And my monitor is over here since I'm using my laptop to demo in front of me. So it may take me a second to see the questions. So can we find images other than free sources and use them in Canva? Yes, you can use whatever images you want. So you can bring in your own personal images. I mean, I use Canva for all of my personal Facebook posts and my Instagram posts, and also for my Facebook group, which I would love you guys to join. It's just such a wonderful group of crafters, and I called it a community instead of a group because I don't want it to just be a place where you just post your pictures. It's supposed to be a place where we can all gather in community together and share with each other. And that's my hope, that we can all do that. And anyway, when I post in my Facebook group, which is every day, I use Canva for all of those. And I don't use all Canva images. So you can import anything you want. Any other questions while I'm sitting here looking at my monitor screen? Not about crafting, just wondering where you live in Alaska. I live in Wasilla. I lived my entire life in California. I was born in Hollywood, and then grew up in Glendale, and then went to Northern California and lived, for 30 years. I lived in a little small town in the Sierra Nevada, not too far from Lake Tahoe. And then when we retired, my husband and I moved up here to Alaska 5 years ago. We live in Wasilla on a lake, and it's beautiful, and we love it here. So thanks for asking about that. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any right this second, so I'm going to continue with this. So here we have grouped these two together, and that's not too hard. You just do the one on the one side, and you do the one on the other side. You drag it over till you see those two lines on both sides, and then you hook them together. Now this I didn't show you in the demo. So one thing you can do here, which is very cool, is you've got this whole thing grouped together now. So if you click the little duplicate, it makes a whole other group, and they're still linked together. So now what we can do is come up here until we see that red line. Do you guys see that red line? I'm holding my shift or my mouse button down so you can see it. See that red line along the top edge of the paper? That means the group is now halfway on that. So we release my mouse button, and I'm going to click it and make another group. And I'm going to drag this one down, line everything up until I see that red line. See it right there on the bottom of the paper. And there you go. Now we've got all of these done. And I'm going to highlight all of them by holding down my left mouse key and just highlighting them. And I'm going to group them all together. And then I'm going to lock them. So nothing I do from now on is going to mess with those flowers we've already set in place. And those are the ones that are going to go and match on either side. So if you go down here, you're going to see how they match. Oh, and one thing I didn't do was I didn't put them in the middle. So let's put them in the middle. There's one in the middle that automatically went there because it kind of it's kind of crazy. It senses where you've got things and it will put the new pieces equidistant from where you have them before. So it does some of the work for you when you have things set up a certain way. So now we've got this one in the middle. I'm just going to duplicate it, go straight up the middle till I see that red line. Duplicate it again, bring it straight down till I see the red line on the bottom, and I've got this all lined up, and there's the red line on the bottom. And then I'm just going to go ahead and group all of these again. There's more than one way to do this. I'm just doing this the easy way, the most direct way to show you. So now everything's locked on there. Now I pulled up some other flowers. I'm going to put those on, and I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm going to put them in between here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And like I said, I'm just eyeballing this today because we're working really fast. So I'm just going to put that in the center there. Then I'm going to duplicate it and come over here, and you can just leave it like that, or you can use this little handle down here with a little circle in it and kind of, move it around if you want it a different way. I think maybe I'll make that one this way and make this one this way a little bit. And then I'm going to duplicate this one and move it right down here. Now in the middle, you don't have to worry about lining anything up. You can put whatever you want in the middle. It doesn't matter. And put this one down here. And can you see those lines coming up between the images? Because it automatically lines it up for you if you just look and see where it's lined up. And believe it or not, there's our paper all done. And I'm just going to lock this. Now I'm going to test it to see if it's seamless. In other words, did I do it right? And if it's off, I'll just adjust it. It's no big deal. It's just, it's just like erasing a mistake with a pencil. It's not a big deal. If it doesn't line up, just do it over. So any more questions right this minute? Can you make it as 12 by 12 and then save it as an 8 by 8? No, it doesn't work real well doing that. And it's just interesting working with digital images. Bigger is better in terms of you have to have it 300 pixels per square inch. So this gets a little bit technical. You don't want to make it a small size and make it bigger. You can go from a 12 by 12 to an 8 by 8, but I would just, okay, let me think about it. The best thing you can do is download it as a 12 by 12 PNG image and then resize that to be 8 by 8. But that gets a little bit, again, in the weeds for newbies, but yeah, you can do it that way. That's the best way. But within Canva, it's better not to try to do that. Does that make sense? I don't know. I hope it makes sense. How long did it take you to learn the basics? Well, here's the thing. When I was working in the university system, I designed online programs. I have a doctorate in education, and it's in instructional design for online learning. So what does that mean? It's a big fancy word. It just means I specialized in designing instruction to be delivered in an online environment. So I was using Canva back then to make things for faculty members and to help them make more interesting presentations in their college classes. So I've used Canva for a really long time, but it used to be really, really primitive. And I would say in the past 1 to 2 years, it has just like blown up in terms of its functionality and its just capabilities to help people like us. There's not a lot of card makers that I see in Canva. Most of them are graphic designers for businesses and different artists and things, but there's so much capability for card makers in terms of being able to make your own sentiments and do all kinds of things, as well as design e-cards that you can just email to people, which is definitely cheaper than postage. But you know, there's kind of a line between being a graphic person online and having your hands in the ink and all of that, and I totally get it. So what I like to say is I like to develop a knowledge of Canva, to add another tool to your tool belt. It isn't an end all, it isn't an all or nothing, but it can totally help you develop your unique style and your unique um, ephemera and things like that you want to add, print, and add to your cards, and you can do it yourself. And you don't have to have a Cricut and fancy machinery to make it happen. So for me, that it makes it all a plus for adding it to your card making tool belt. So for me, I had it for a long time, but I have a series on YouTube, um, that I started a few months ago that's called Canva for Card Makers. So if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll get not a notice when I put new tutorials out. And right now there's 6 of the tutorials in there. They're pretty, they go step by step. So if you follow those, and you might, especially at the first one, you may think, well, when am I going to get to make a card or what, whatever. I'm purposely spelling it out from the ground up so we build a foundation and nobody says, wait a minute, I am in doing this and I have no idea what I'm doing. So it's meant for total beginners. So I'm hoping that will help you. And if so, just go to the link in my presenter area in the summit, and there should be a link for my YouTube channel there. So anyway, may have already been asked, but why do you put the first 2 images in half? Okay, well, the reason is because we're going to look at that right now. The way to test whether this is seamless is you go up here to share, and you're going to download it. And here it has PNG, which is an image file. It's like a JPEG if you're familiar with JPEGs, but PNG has some capabilities that JPEGs don't. So we're going to save it as a PNG, which is the automatic version. And we're just going to download it. Here you can click which pages you want to print. And we're working on page 1. So I'm going to unclick this and just click page 1. And then I'm going to download it. And then what I'm going to do is go down here. I'm going to make a new page. There's a little plus sign up here, add page, and there's a brand new page. And now I have my upload. Lately, I guess it's Chrome. They've been putting your uploads, your downloads up here. So I'm going to just drag this from my downloads right over here into my page. And there's what I just did. It took a picture of what I made right in front of you, and there it is. So now, the reason those images are on the sides is because when you butt these images up next to each other, they make a continuous pattern. That's what it means by seamless. You can't tell where the seam is in between them. So that's why you put them half and half. So to test it, we're going to put this up here, and then I'm going to use this little corner and size it to be, see when it's right in the quarter of the page, it has that X in the middle. And now what I'm going to do is duplicate it, come over here, and butt it up next to it. And they should match. And they look like they do. Now I can just highlight both of those together and duplicate them together and move it down here. And there you have your pattern paper. We made it just now, just in front of you. And to check it, you click on these arrows down here, and there it is big. Can you guys all see that? What do you think? Somebody make a comment about that. And if it seemed too hard or if you understood it, so I get a little feedback. It's hard to just talk and not know what you're thinking. What do you think? Can you design randomly without lining up the edges? What happens if you don't line up the edges? Okay, that's a good question. Let me get out of here. If you just have a blank page and you're just making it for one card, it's no big deal. You can put whatever you want in here, and you can You know, here's some images I was using. I'm making my Christmas handouts for my email. So if I just wanted to design a page and just put all kinds of things on it, I can put whatever I want. These are all images I just made yesterday. I can put whatever I want on it, print it out, and cut them out and use them for ephemera. But here in this, what I'm teaching for the summit is how to make seamless papers so that you can make it whatever size you want it to be so that it lines up with each other. Just like buying patterned paper in a paper pad, you can make your own this way. And the way to do it is to make it in those squares and then continually repeat them so they get smaller and smaller. And that's a question that somebody asked me on my Facebook group yesterday after they watched the demo. They tried it themselves and they said, well, wait a minute. I did this to this stage where I put the 4 squares together, but it's still bigger than I want it to be when I print it out. I want the pattern to be tinier. No problem. You just do the same thing again. We're going to lock this page. See, we started with this page, right? The big one. We set it up that way. Now we see that they all line up together. And all we have to do is download this one the same way. Download. We're going to change it to page 2 because that's the one that we want to download as an image. And then we're going to download it. And I'm going to make a new page. And then I'm going to bring that download right over here, like that. And there's the tinier version. And now I'm going to do the very same thing. This is how you can make patterns that are small enough that this is what they do with how they make a 12-inch scrapbook piece size of print. And then you get the 6-inch pads and it's the same print, but it's really tiny. This goes through the same process. You just keep making it smaller. So here we've got this one. I'm going to just duplicate it, bring it over here, highlight them, duplicate, bring it down here. And because you've lined up the edges, these squares all match at the right place in the flowers. So now if I make it bigger, you can see that the pattern is smaller. And that's how you keep making it smaller and smaller until you get it to the size that you want it to be. Okay, what printer and papers do you suggest? I've used an Epson printer and different brands. Right now I have a Brother printer and I like it. You have to keep working. You have to just kind of decide the color that you want. You know, printers are different, but my Brother is just a regular, I got it from Costco. It's not a big deal. It's just a regular Brother printer. And I use presentation paper. You can do it just on plain old white, like Nina cardstock, 110 cardstock, fine. For my cards that I actually am doing to mail out, if I'm making a whole card, I do it on a presentation paper that I get from Amazon. That's like a heavy duty cardstock, but it's kind of photo quality print. And that is the biggest issue for printing off of online digital resources. Even if you get something from Creative Fabrica and you just download it and you want to print it, set your printer. You're going to have to look at your printer settings because every printer is different. Set it to 300 psi, meaning photo quality print. Because if you just print it out like you would a normal, document of some sort, it'll be fuzzy. Because online images are what's called 72 dots per inch or pixels per inch. And they look fine online on a screen. If you try to print out an image that's 72 pixels per inch, it's going to look all fuzzy. So you want to have it 300 pixels per inch. Now, don't worry about that because your printer will have a setting for it. You just need to look it up in the manual and find it. And that's my one last thing I want to do here before we get off is say, what if I wanted to print this and I wanted to, make it 300 pixels per inch or dots per inch. And what you do, and I have this in my presentation too, you come over here to download. And here where it says PNG, instead of PNG, you do this little down arrow and you go down here to PDF print. And so now it's changed up there to PDF print. Now, here's another thing. here it says RGB, best for digital use. If you're a free user, you will not have a choice here because it only has RGB. If you decide to do a Canva Pro account, which I think it's about $13 a month, I'm not into selling Canva. I don't work for them or anything. So it's no biggie deal to me whether you decide to be a pro user or not. But if you do, you have a choice of changing it to the CMYK, which says best for professional printing. And that is what your home printer is set to, is a CMYK printing. Now, having said that, I've printed it both ways, and sometimes RGB works just fine, better even. So don't worry about that. But that's what that is there. And so I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to download it, and it's going to come in as a PDF. And PDFs are automatically PDF print. The print one is automatically at the quality that you want it to be to print it. You just have to make sure that your printer is set correctly. So that's all downloaded, and now we're going to open that. And there's the PDF I printed all the pages of all the ones that we just did. Small, medium, large, and you can even make them tinier than that. And there's some of my Christmas things that I'm going to be giving out at Christmas. So Artist tells me it's time to wrap up. Oh my gosh, it went so fast. If you have a VIP pass, join me on Monday on my class there. I don't remember the time, but it's on the Summit materials, and we're going to spend 2 hours together working with this and have a lot more time to answer your questions. Otherwise, I hope to see you in my Facebook group, and thank you so much for being here for me today. I just really appreciate it, and blessings to